Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Okay. Um, we're actually into the second week of virtual hybrid in-person high school for one, and a
Mhm.
couple weeks in, one's in college virtually at Indiana University, which made USA Today in the news this morning for having so many parties and boat parties on Lake Monroe. So my son is there. I hope quarantining and wearing his mask and being good,
Making good choices.
making good choices, being
That's what
smart.
I say to my kids. Just make good choices. I just saw an article today in the New York Times about how a lot of these schools are sending the sick kids home.
Yeah,
And so then that's just
right.
creating seeds
Yeah,
for all of the other communities.
I don't get it.
So that's that's the opposite of good choices.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I've been thinking a lot about school starting next week. And honestly, I think 2020 has just had it, in Oregon where I am, the state is basically on fire right now. And my kids are getting ready to go back to virtual school. And I've been feeling guilty because I've been in denial. Well, I have a group of mom friends and we have an open text, and they've all been attending all the web meetings and the town halls and all the things. And do you know how many I've attended?
Probably not many.
Zero. I've
And
attended zero.
yeah, and I would offer that I watched a couple videos way late, and what I found was it changes every week or every other day anyway.
Yeah.
So wait until they finally work it out because they just don't know what they don't know.
Okay. That's good advice because
Yeah.
I've been self-shaming a little bit about being in denial. Um, and
No.
I think part of it is just that that's not a skill set that I have. Navigating new technology, and I've been very anxious about the fact that my youngest, I think we all knew she had ADHD when we were attending Zoom school in the spring, but she actually just got the official diagnosis. So
Sorry.
yeah, so um, it's gonna be hard. And um, I just think about all of the other families out there. You and I have been talking about how this pandemic has really blown the cover off um, the inequities of the division of um, domestic responsibilities. And both of us being in healthcare, you look at 70% of healthcare workers are female. How are we going to do this? I don't know. I shared that article with you that my dad sent me. Her name's Nala Valji. She's the senior gender advisor at the UN,
Mhm.
and she's been unpacking this for us. And yeah, it's just women are more likely to be laid off than men. The global average is 3 times more of the domestic work, the unpaid labor.
Right.
Um, and so you look at it even from an employer perspective. If you've got a medical clinic, how do you staff it when people can't, leave their kids to do Zoom school alone?
Right.
There's not good childcare out there. And so I don't know. I don't know. I know I'm like the doomsayer, but I guess the one positive thing I can say is that while my technology skills are really suffering, and my coping skills, I think, are suffering like many others, but my hair skills, I gave myself a haircut this
I know.
weekend,
It's cute.
4 inches.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've been, all those YouTube videos I've been watching have been paying off. Every single member of my household has had a haircut by me during this pandemic multiple times,
Yeah.
and
Great.
everyone kicks and screams throughout it. But then they're generally happy with the result. So
See, that's progress.
yeah, maybe I can open a home hair salon, socially distant, to supplement my income. I
Yeah.
don't know. What do we do, Gwen?
Well, I guess I don't, well, I don't have all the answers, but I I do wonder, why do we as women assume that the childcare and the teaching and the principal and the superintendent's offices all have to reside with us as the women in the family? And maybe, maybe not every woman has a partner. And yet we have friends, we have families, we might have extended families, or we just might have friends in the neighborhood. And I wonder if we are asking enough questions or just asking for help.
Asking for
Or
help, I think that's
are
a
we asking
barrier.
for help, or are we just assuming?
Yep.
Are we taking on these roles and are we shooting ourselves in the foot?
hmm hmm No, that's a really good point. I think in the article from the New York Times, they talked about how um, by far and away the majority of single parent homes are led by women, and that if you have to pick somebody to do the childcare and somebody to be employed, because men's salaries are on average, what is it, 70 cents to the dollar,
Right.
that because they're higher, then it tends to be that is the choice that makes sense for the family, for the mother to stop working. And I mean, we certainly did that in our household when my husband and I were both trying to work from home, and he's trying to interview a stranger and over Zoom, and you can hear me in the kitchen yelling at my then 6-year-old, write your paper.
Right, right. And yet, we we know it takes a village. And forever, the human population has banded together in communities to support each other. Modern day life, not so easy. And a lot of us move away from that core family. So I just wonder, how do we learn, even virtually, to build community and build these villages? Homeschool. Can you create groups of like families, even if they're single mom families, to homeschool and share in those responsibilities a little bit differently? It's just a tough time, and it's not just the pandemic, it's the economy, it's the fires, it's an incredibly it's just a hard time. There's just no normalcy. I guess it's unclear. It can be scary, and it can be filled with fear and anxiety. Especially the smaller we get into these family units, and we feel trapped at home, or trapped thinking we have kids to raise, and the livelihood is dependent on me, and yet I can't leave for a job, or I don't have a job. So it just calls us to all be creative and connect in different ways, be much more intentional.
You have me thinking. I didn't consider it this way, but my group of moms that we have an open text, and they're my text village.
Yeah, there you go.
I didn't think of it that way, but you're absolutely right. And sometimes I feel guilty that I'm always the one, because I told you I put my head in the sand about all this school stuff, that I'm always the one going, where are we supposed to be? What was that? What platform was I supposed to download? And they always answer, and they never are like, God, Liz, could you check in? So, I guess I have to keep telling myself that. And I think it is okay to ask the dads, what is your work allowing you to do?
Right.
And I need to stay in dialogue about that with my husband, rather than just assume that it's all going to be on me. We decided that in the spring. And I'm thinking about from the employer perspective, being in HR, one of the things that I am seeing happening where I work is they're surveying people, saying, what works for you? How can we be creative? And so I think that's far preferable than saying, oh, you can't come in your normal 4-day shift. Okay, well, thanks for your service. Now we're going to go hire somebody in the exact same situation to replace you. So I think that at least the business that I'm a part of, they are saying to families, how can we support you? And some people are choosing to do job shares.
Good.
Right. So that's a good potential solution. And there is leave available, but I think that's, if we can really try to keep people employed, that's employed and being paid, but do it in a creative way so that they can re-attend, in my case, second grade.
Right.
Hopefully it'll go better than my first time attending second grade.
Yeah, at least with virtual, it goes faster. I'm figuring out the class time is much less.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So give it a try. Deep breath.
Will.
Deep breath.
Lots of deep breaths.
Lots of
deep breaths.
They're very cleansing.
Lots of counting the hours until the glue that's holding this pandemic person, I would say, together, which is called wine. So what else? You've been reading a book lately that has some creative cuss words in it. So tell me about that. Tell me about that book with all the F words.
I picked this up because I had a big 50th birthday this summer, and this is a gift someone gave to me. And I didn't then pick it up till a couple weeks ago, and I mentioned it in a previous session. And yeah, it seems like appropriate right now. Everything is effed. A book about hope. And I'll read a couple excerpts because I want it to give you the flavor of it.
Yeah.
But a book about hope caught me because a lot of people I talk to, whether they're clients or whether they're just colleagues, what I have found is some people put hope in March in the fact that this pandemic would end in a couple weeks, or then it would end by July 4th, or then it would end when a vaccine. So hope, hope, hope. And I think we've all heard from previous stories, many, many generations ago, that during wartime or in concentration camps, those that hold out hope for a particular date tend to then fall apart once that date comes and goes. And they may literally just fall apart, give up. Those that just have some sort of conversation with themselves to recognize that there's no way to know when or if this will end, tend to be more resilient, tend to get more creative, tend to move through these really horrid times, and sometimes get creative solutions from it. So I picked it up thinking that it would really give me some insight. And what it did was kick me in the head because I've always had a lot of stuff going on in my head and a lot of back and forth, and I didn't know if that was just me, if I was just that weird and strange, or if that's normal. So it talks a lot about that is normal. You've got your traditional thoughtful mind, and then you have your feeling mind, or your intellectual brain, or your child brain, and they call it different things. But there's really two sides. One is very intentional, and one is that just deep subconscious. And I've lived my whole professional career kind of being really proud of myself for being calm and planned. What this basically said is the only thing you can control in life is yourself, and frankly, you can't control yourself. because we're guided by that child brain. We're guided by that deep down subconscious, and we don't even know it and we don't realize it. But then it also talks about, because we don't realize it and know that about ourselves, we all believe that there's something bigger and better out there, and we all live on hope. And that is really not healthy. So let me give you the first paragraph that really kicked me in the head. And as I drink my Starbucks here, which I do incessantly, he says, writer says, Mark Manson, if you were the guy at Starbucks writing on the cup and giving a cup to everybody, this is what he would write. One day you and everyone you love will die. And beyond a small group of people for an extremely brief of time, little of what you say or do will ever matter. This is the uncomfortable truth of life. And everything you do or think, but an elaborate avoidance of it, is inconsequential cosmic dust, bumping and milling about on a tiny blue speck. We imagine our own importance. Take that one in. Mm-hmm. We invent our purpose. We are nothing. Enjoy your effing coffee. So how does that start your effing day? So I read more, and what it gets into is, your thinking brain is your conscious, accurate, impartial brain. It's methodical, rational, but it's also slow. So I spoke about that a little bit. Your feeling brain, however, arrives at conclusions quickly and effortlessly. The problem is it's often inaccurate and irrational. The feeling brain is a bit of a drama queen and has a bad habit of overreacting. So you can get that, which is why I was so proud. I thought I didn't let that brain bubble up. But it gets into, but the feeling brain drives our conscious car, because ultimately we are moved to action only by emotion. Wow. And that's because action is emotion. Well, I have suppressed my emotions for like 35, 40, 50 years, because growing up in a family with a bipolar mom, had to survive. But then let's get into the gender issues. At work, are we invited to show emotion? My God, if a woman at work shows emotion, is that looked kindly upon?
No. Called difficult. She is called dramatic. She is called a drama queen. She is called a bitch.
Or soft and weak and pathetic.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So some of what you got into a while ago about daycare and flexible work schedules and job sharing. Okay, so emotion is the biological hydraulic system that pushes our bodies into movement. Fear is not this magical thing your brain invents. No, it happens in our bodies. It is the tightening of your stomach, the tensing of your muscles, the release of adrenaline, the overwhelming desire for space and emptiness around your body. So that's what's going on right now. We're all in our little child brain. We are full of emotion, yet we're all seated in front of these damn computers for how many hours at a time? We still don't believe that showing emotion, talking about feelings or any of that is going to make us more successful in life or career. But it is the only thing that drives action. So I have truly been wrestling with this. I mean, one thing my mom always said is actions speak louder than words. So I've been trying to figure out how to tie together the emotions that I've grown up suppressing and let them out in some positive way to drive action, to move through this time and not put hope at the center of it, or hope for a date, or hope for a vaccine, or hope for somebody to swoop in and help me if I don't ask. It's not going to happen. or hope that somebody else is going to figure this out and save me and protect me or my kids or my family. That's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I've been doodling a lot, and it came to, don't hope for a better life. Let's become a better life. And how do you become a better life? An action is talking about this stuff, what we're doing.
Yeah, you're definitely
Talking
kicking
about the
me in the head.
facts, talk about the research. And
Yeah.
then I get to, it's not just healthcare, it's everywhere. Women are 80% of the consumers of most industries, not all, but many. We are the buyers in the family. The economy counts on women to be purchasers and to be discerning consumers. How do we talk about these things, whether it's to our employers or to the general industry, retail, certainly, and just talk about the power of women. And thus, we also need to be empowered to set our own work schedules and to get some help to be all in.
Yeah, you're really kicking me in the head. Thank you. No, this idea of my child brain, that is powerful because my child brain is what is awake at 2 a.m,
Yeah,
almost every night,
absolutely.
just whispering all kinds of unhelpful things to me.
Mm-hmm.
My child brain is the brain that causes me to cut bangs at really poor times in my life. That is definitely my child brain.
Right.
And when I think about, some of the things, the choices that I've made in the last couple months that I regret, definitely fueled by my child brain. So how do I acknowledge my child brain, not, try to get rid of it, like you said, because action comes from emotion, but maybe put it in a sidecar. Like the child brain is with me, but it's not, it's not riding the motorcycle. It's in the sidecar, and I'm acknowledging it, and I'm not trying to get rid of it, but I'm also trying to make decisions that are a balance between the thinking brain and the child brain.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's a tall order.
It's a
I think.
tall order. Yeah. And for someone like me, I don't even know what to call my emotions sometimes. I don't really know what they are, but the book is helping me recognize that maybe I can't up here, but my body understands it. So it's, really listening to our bodies more. I think sometimes maybe it's okay to let the child brain just go out and do whatever. How much harm can it do at times? So your bangs look a little wonky. Okay. No big deal. But other times when it's important stuff that we either want to do and we're just not doing it, it's recognizing that's because the child brain in us just doesn't want to do it. It just doesn't want to. And maybe we need to treat the child brain like a child. And you know what? You may not want to do this, but you'll feel really much better if you do, like exercise.
Or be curious about what the learning platform is going to be for this
Right.
year.
Children dig into those kinds of things. They're not scared by it. Why are we? So maybe if we want to exercise intellectually, then we force our child brain to we just say, you can have your glass of wine after you exercise.
I think that's that is a key, right? And I think the other key, so giving ourselves a reward, right, for doing things that are good for us but are hard. I think the other thing, I had a client that had a breakthrough about this last week. She really struggles with perfectionism.
Okay.
And so if she doesn't think she can do something perfectly, she won't do it.
Okay.
And so she was working on her goal plan, and she had written down all these things, and I said to her, that looks really rigid. Like, are you gonna look at that in a week and go, forget it, I can't accomplish that? And so her breakthrough was, she said, okay, my measurement is that I'm not going to measure it. That will be my measurement for success. And it was about self-care and wellness. And I mean, she was going to take like 3 classes on nutrition and the paleo diet, and she was going to meditate, and
Wow.
it was a very long list. And so that was her aha moment, is that the measure for success was, I will not measure it. And so that can look like, I'm going to go for a walk, but I'm not going to turn on my step counter, because it doesn't matter. The point is the walk, not how far I go.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's all that. And it's, maybe we should learn from the kids. The kids have this stuff figured out sometimes. The kids are, FaceTiming and Zooming, and they're figuring out how to congregate and be little villages into themselves and share the workload. They're sharing the schoolwork through virtual learning. They're asking for help.
Yeah.
So what can we learn from the kids who still have child brains?
Well, my 7-year-old would say that we should all color our hair rainbow, because that was what she said to me yesterday, that we should just, Mom, we just need to get some hair dye, and we all need to make our hair look like unicorns.
Why not?
Why not? I'm already cutting my own hair. I might as well dye it rainbow.
Yeah.
I have to say that you just got me thinking about the concept of a village again. And I know we're running out of time for our session today together, but I sure am glad that you're in my village.
Aw, too. I'm so happy we get to connect, and I really hope that women take this time, take these videos and use them to connect. It's so important. And to talk about emotions and feelings, and not to feel like it's a weakness. It is a strength. And even if you want to hide your emotions or believe you can suppress them, they're coming out in all kinds of ways.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of ways. That's why I mentioned it, a little bit ago too, that, I'm not eating the way I used to. I'm not holding off on the adult beverages for weekends like I used to. We need to talk about those things. If nothing else, to laugh. And hug and build relationships that probably will last us a lifetime, which we may not have ever had if we hadn't been forced into this virtual medium and to create these texting villages that we now have.
Gosh, that's a good point. Well, as a key member of my village, if you hear me talking about cutting bangs,
Okay.
you're going to have to say, Liz, that is your child brain. And you need to not do that.
Okay.
You will regret it.
Deal. And for all of us, let's take action. So whether that is asking for help, whether that is raising up to your employer through a survey or other valid means, what you need to be successful in this period of time, raise it up. Even if you think they know, no one can read your mind.
Yeah.
Raise it up. And then let's keep raising issues collectively about consumerism and the economy and our strength as women. Empower ourselves by using that dollar, that consumerism dollar, to support the employers that give the flex time to their employees. Ask those questions. Sometimes it starts with a question more than a statement. So let's go, but let's just don't be quiet.
Yeah, that's a good point. I have a seat at the table where those decisions are being made. So I need to walk the talk that you just said.
Yeah. Yeah. And we need to be inquiring consumers.
Need to instigate.
Let's instigate.
All right.
Have a good week.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.